One thing that's for sure is it's pretty cheap to get alcohol around here. We have the lowest beer tax in the nation, only 2 cents per gallon. Compare that to a 28-cent national average. Their coach says Stacy and Haley have very different styles, but they both share a fighting spirit. Now, actually signing up to become an organ donor is really simple. All you have to do is fill out one little checkbox on your driver's license form, and the information moves on to the proper authorities. So what more needs to be done? The moms say after 3 weeks, this process still hasn't solved the problem. And a rodeo clown turned advocate says a process alone is insufficient. One of the biggest advantages of the system is putting the bus routes online, which would save parents and administrators a lot of extra phone calls.
Bonsoir, je m'appelle Lydia Defranchi. Imaginez-vous dans une salle de classe où l'on parle la moitié de la journée en français and the other half in English. That's what one group in Casper hopes to do. Join us for this story and more, News 13 at 10.
We see in the high schools that the usage rates are being reduced.
That may correspond to a rise in targeted programs. One of those is PARTY, which stands for Prevent Alcohol and Risk-Related Trauma in Youth.
That's all dependent on how much you weigh, how much you've had to drink.
Teens get to see exactly what happens when drinking goes wrong.
They hear that a lot. They hear, don't drink and drive, wear your seatbelt, don't do the drugs. So we tell them, you know, this is what happens when you don't, and we show them. And we have people come in from the community who are very compassionate about what they do.
When I was there, it just felt like real. It was, I can't really explain it. It made me more aware of what can happen and what they will do.
Organizers are working to coordinate better with the school system and expand the program's reach. But is alcohol still too accessible?
The more alcohol is present, the higher likelihood that they're going to try that. You know, that's part of being that age, is you're trying to find out what you can do and how far you can go.
One thing that's for sure is it's pretty cheap to get alcohol around here. We have the lowest beer tax in the nation, only 2 cents per gallon. Compare that to a 28-cent national average. And some would like to keep it that way, although local governments continue trying to get the state to adopt an increase.
Wyoming has not had the beer tax increase since Prohibition, especially with prevention and treatment dollars being reduced. Might be an opportunity to seek some funds to continue to be able to help families.
Another initiative that may help here is Casper's launch of a dedicated alcohol court last December.
We've seen a reduction in our revocations. They've gone down by quite a bit, and we've seen a great success there. And even though it's only been a couple months, we are seeing things move in the right direction.
Adults and minors over 18 convicted of alcohol-related offenses get extra support and education. The average schooling level here is 11th grade.
Help people understand what's going on, where they're at in life, and how their decisions are impacting where they're going.
The court's goal is to provide accountability, but not treatment. That's where community organizations such as the Mercer House step in.
They do substance abuse evaluations. Okay. And then we have another therapist in this office.
Community partners agree there's still work to do, but sharing resources is helping. Lydia Defranchi, News 13, Casper.
A truck driver is dead tonight after running off Interstate 25 near Glen Rock.
The tanker was heading south on I-25 between the two Glen Rock exit just before 5 p.m. when Converse County's emergency manager says the vehicle abruptly went off the road and fell between the freeway lanes onto Box Elder Canyon Road below, completely blocking off the road. As of 8 o'clock tonight, crews had just arrived to clear the area.
We're working on getting the road cleared. There's heavy wreckers coming up out of Douglas to see if they can remove this tonight in the dark. If not, they'll have to remove it in the morning, but I believe they're going to get at least one lane of this road open tonight.
When News 13 arrived at the scene this evening, the coroner had just left. Investigators are working to determine what caused the crash. Stay with News 13 as we learn more.
It slid under my door Saturday night. Another one slid under my door Sunday. They could have knocked on the door and handed it to me because I was only 4 feet from the door.
The Skylar Inn's manager resigned last week. Now the hotel's closing down for reasons that aren't clear. But for those who call this place home, finding new housing is far from simple.
Paying that amount of money and trying to look for a place and having a deposit, It's just, you don't get all of it at one point.
7 days when you have a family of 5 is absolutely not enough time. It takes 1 day to move from one establishment to another.
The hotel's employees get a little more time to pack up, but they're losing their jobs in addition to their home. One woman tells us off camera she hasn't paid her last month's rent because that's all she has for a down payment on a new place. Here's a letter posted on Friday telling residents be out by April 12th, but a lot of them say they still haven't found a solution and 7 days just isn't enough. How long have you been living here?
Oh, a few days, over two years.
Mr. Parker's daughter-in-law says finding any place adequate for this veteran's needs is incredibly difficult.
We literally have no place. He will be homeless. We can't take him into our own home. We live in an older home. Back then, I don't know what they did, for people in wheelchairs because our doorways don't even accommodate.
Several area organizations are stepping in to help.
There's not a lot of tenant protection in Wyoming at this point.
And there are very few open low-income units as it is.
We're just trying to be very creative, but the more time we have, the easier it will be. It's very difficult to take 20 families all in 3 days and try and find affordable housing for them. If you can spread that out even over a month, we have a much better chance of transitioning these folks.
Lydia Defranchi, News 13, Casper.
As soon as I saw the competition, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna fail.
Jordan did the opposite of that and has this to show for it, but just getting to compete was something special.
I didn't expect him to come back with a medal, and he did. That was just a bonus.
It took a lot of work and sometimes some prodding from Mom.
She sort of kept on making me go.
Plus a lot of coach's support and that special kind of love from his brother.
I really expected a gold from him, but...
You disappointed?
Yeah, I was just a little bit. But
now, a flight to South Korea isn't cheap, and neither is getting the gear and training necessary to compete. But cost wouldn't be an obstacle for this dedicated mom.
When I got the call, I was like, wow, what an opportunity.
There was some fundraising, help from the Special Olympics Committee, and Monday, Jordan got to meet the man who helped make his dream come true with a major donation.
How you doing?
I'm excited to see you here.
Well, I had to meet you sometime. It was the right thing to help him out, and because she spent so much money to help him get there, and he comes back with a bronze, that's awesome.
Kathy says for this teen living with autism,
I am so proud of what he's done. He has actually worked very hard.
Multidisciplinary training and pushing her son out of his comfort zone.
It brought out a lot of good characteristics in Jordan.
Those are some of the greatest benefits of being a cross-country champ. We regularly feature crime stories, deaths, accidents, or abuse cases, but there's another story that unfolds behind the scenes, the victims. Casper Police Department's Victim Response Unit is trained to provide whatever help a victim may need. And now they need your help.
Sometimes we'll see folks with complete shock. They can't believe what's going on. And sometimes you'll get scenes that the victim seems to be handling things okay, but it's after everybody leaves that things fall apart.
That's where anonymous Victim Response Unit volunteers come in.
The first few minutes is very traumatic for people, so someone to be there and help them and kind of focus them helps them a lot, and it also helps law enforcement.
They help Casper officers calm victims down, make phone calls to family, and provide any emotional support the person needs.
I've been with women that have been victimized, and they wanted a woman there, not a man, and it's very nice to know that we can be there to help them at that point in time.
Casper's unit consists of 6 volunteers right now, but they're looking to at least double the team so they can have 2 volunteers at every scene.
There's different dynamics with male victim responders, and sometimes folks respond better to males than they do females, and vice versa. So wouldn't it be better to have both?
Holscher points out, for example, men are beginning to report more when they are victims of domestic abuse. And because every situation is different, more diverse volunteers will help them better respond to victims' needs. And Jenny says her work helping victims is the most rewarding service she's ever given.
It's a small amount of time that you pay to help your fellow man.
8 Wyomingites who died in 2012 were viable organ donors. It may seem like a small number, but those 8 people saved 26 different lives.
That really kind of gives you an idea of the life-saving impact
of just one organ donor.
Smith says 59% of Wyoming residents are registered donors.
And that actually puts Wyoming amongst the top 10 in the nation.
Although the actual transplant operations take place in Denver, often with organs coming from that state. But Wyoming Medical Center, as a Level 2 trauma center, is a major partner in collecting some of those organs.
If somebody's in an accident and they made that note on their driver's license, that's their number one thing that they wanted to do if they were to pass. So we, as a hospital, want to respect them.
The hospital earned a national award last year for staff's efforts in facilitating donation. And right here is the front line for most people, the DMV.
Now, actually signing up to become an organ donor is really simple. All you have to do is fill out one little checkbox on your driver's license form, and the information moves on to the proper authorities.
Once they check it and we put it on the license, it does refer it over to the Organ Donor Foundation.
And organizations like the Organ Donor Alliance hope to save more lives right here in the state.
There are right now 148 Wyoming residents on the waiting list for a life-saving organ transplant. Those are all fellow Wyomingites.
And she says it's as simple as checking that box next time you renew your license.
If I can't use them anymore, they might as well you have somebody that can use them.
Lydia Defranchi, News 13, Casper.
Excellent. You know that somebody wants you to come there and be in their promotion and in front of all those people. It's awesome.
This fight is going to be like the map of all fights.
An invitation to an international MMA fight is a first for 24-year-old Stacy Vega.
I'll be able to throw my name out there and get recognized more as a fighter, especially from Wyoming. We don't get a lot of that here.
And after less than 2 years of training, 19-year-old Haley Smith will be up against a world champion kickboxer.
I've been working a lot on my cardio because that's pretty important, and you know, gym work.
Their coach says Stacy and Haley have very different styles, but they both share a fighting spirit.
Haley is awesome. She is this gentle spirit that is giggly and just very demure until you put gloves on her, and then she just wants to rip your head off. You can just see Stacy coming out when she fights.
As long as I fought my fight and I know I did the best that I could do, I'm going to be okay with it. Like win or lose, I'll always have a smile on my face.
Bloom says she's proud of her students who are helping develop a sport they're passionate about by stepping into the cage just months after the first ever UFC women's fight.
When they think of women fighting, they think of bikini tops and like the foxy boxing. And that's not what it's all about. These girls are athletes and they train really hard and they take it very seriously and they make lots of sacrifices.
Just to be able to say that I can do it, it's pretty important.
Lydia Defranchi, News 13, Casper. Gail Bryden worked for Wyoming Medical Center processing accounts when she first noticed something wasn't quite right in 2006.
They were telling medical records to change the statuses in order to recoup that money, because if they didn't and they charged it as an outpatient like the doctor had ordered it, they wouldn't be reimbursed.
She felt ignored when she brought up her concerns.
A light bulb came on that day, and I was never invited back to that meeting.
But hospital CEO Vicki Diamond says staff addressed them.
She was part of those committees. She was the first part of this initial investigation also. So yes, we felt we responded appropriately. That's why we went to an intermediary for clarification. And so we did that. We have multitude of notes and everything of us trying to make sure we're complying with the guidelines.
Prosecutors say the investigation did find evidence to support Bryden's claims, but administration maintains they never intended to do wrong.
We admit we interpreted those guidelines wrong. But again, it's a very, very small percentage.
But in cases like these, even if it's completely accidental, U.S. attorneys say institutions that benefit from federal funding are held to a higher standard. As for Bryden, who will receive an unspecified amount in the settlement, it's a relief her role is finally over, but she'll continue to deal with repercussions for a long time.
I've spent about 25 years in the healthcare field, and this has ruined me. And I didn't do anything wrong, and the people who have committed the crime, they're still there. They're still employed.
He came up to me one day and he said, "You're going to hold my drugs or I'm going to stab you."
She follows the process, reports the incident to her mom and a trusted adult at the school, which launches an investigation.
Her friend later hears the boy talking to his friends about the incident and reports that
they had also said that they were going to punch me in the face and hurt me because I had told the security office what was going on.
the moms get involved. They're told to change their daughter's classes and get a protection order.
I went to the police station to get one, and then I was there. They said, well, you have to provide the other kid's birth date and his address. Well, I'm still trying to get that.
The school has a process, and students are encouraged to come forward.
If there is some evidence that we can improve in some way, then the administrator certainly does whatever it takes to improve that environment.
So what more needs to be done? The moms say after 3 weeks, this process still hasn't solved the problem. And a rodeo clown turned advocate says a process alone is insufficient.
I would like to see you create a plan, not a process, not a protocol, not a procedure, a written plan so that my kids are safe when they go to school.
The policy is probably great, but I believe that the administrators don't want to take personal responsibility for handling the matter.
The district can't comment on a specific case for privacy reasons, but administrators say they strive to help students feel safe.
If you're not getting a response at one level, you can go up the chain of command, and it's very well defined.
I feel scared sometimes just to go to school. I feel scared that I'm going to run into them and they'll do something.
Lydia Defranchi, News 13, Casper. The hypothetical undead are a very useful tool for teaching about readiness, and at Casper College, the zombie apocalypse is helping these students learn about emergencies.
So it's just a really nice way to lighten up what's otherwise a very heavy topic.
And frankly, it doesn't matter if it's a zombie apocalypse or a tidal wave. Our first responders are going to mitigate the situation in largely the same manner.
Some take being ready very seriously. They call themselves preppers, and their goal, complete self-reliance. This person said identifying her would compromise her emergency plan.
To evaluate the amounts, basically, of food, look at the clothes, those kinds of things, and prepare our family's storage.
She says living near Yellowstone makes an earthquake or eruption a real possibility, and the raging fires of this past summer only reinforced her desire to be ready.
We pump our own water, we grind our own wheat, we make our own bread. This is our accident insurance.
The idea with emergency preparedness is to be ready for just about anything. So that could include, for example, stocking up on gas in case it were to become unavailable or really expensive in some kind of catastrophe scenario. But the idea of having a plan B isn't reserved to full-time survivalists. FEMA and emergency preparedness professionals recommend having at least a few days' supply on hand and having a plan.
Where are you going to meet if you can't get to your house? How are you going to get to your children? How are you planning for your pets? What kinds of things are you doing to help plan for the emergency that we hopefully will never have?
For Sandy Swanson, it started while packing for hunting trips, then became a quest for a healthier and more secure lifestyle.
If you're going to depend on the grocery store, right now I think the grocery stores only keep like a 3-day food supply, even on them on hand. So if that's gone, then what are you going to do? You got to fend for yourself.
Now she sells food supply products and has her own 6-month supply that's edible and ready to use. It's not cold.
No, it can't be. It'd be thawed out.
It's not bad.
Ice cream.
And with hunting and ranching, Wyoming's already familiar with the self-reliant lifestyle.
We grew gardens, we processed food, we picked wild food. My father hunted, we lived off wild meat, so this is what we did.
Lydia Defranchi, News 13, Casper.